Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Fine Disaster. This is Battlefield 4, and in today's video we're going to be talking about LAV or IFV loadouts. We're going to be trying to find the most effective and most flexible way of kitting out your infantry fighting vehicle so that it is adaptable and suitable for any combat situation. As those of you that rarely watch my videos know, I recently did a video on the most effective, most versatile tank loadout in Battlefield 4, and we're going to be doing the very same just for the infantry fighting vehicle today. Unlike tanks, however, in my opinion, there's a little bit more variety in the infantry fighting vehicle when it comes to suitable and viable solutions, and thus there's going to be a lot more opinion-based commentary in here rather than hard numbers and facts. So in the end, you're going to basically have to take the arguments brought to you here today and decide for yourself which loadout you find the best or the most versatile, depending also on which game mode you use. But let's get right into it. With the primary weapon, you have three options. You have the 25mm HE shell, the APF SDS T shell, which is basically the armor penetrating shell. It's geared towards armor, and the canister shell, which is of course the pretty much infantry exclusive option. Now of those three, only two are really suitable or viable, the 25mm HE shell and the APF SDST shell. Now while the APF SDT shell does do more damage against armor and quite significantly more damage, about a third more in my testing against armor, and therefore is definitely the better solution when it comes to armor, I usually run the HE shell. Now not only can you also do damage to armor with the HE shell, but it's of course, because of the much higher splash damage, far better suited for fighting infantry. And this is after all the infantry fighting vehicle. Most maps where I pick an IFV or LFV to fight in, usually there's plenty of infantry. If however you are using the LAV to come up against massive amounts of tanks, I would probably suggest switching the 25mm HE shell for the APF SDT shell. When it comes to secondary weapons, the choice is quite staggering. You have the coaxial energy, you have a tow missile, and you have Zuni rockets. Each one of these is a viable solution. While the coaxial is probably the most geared towards infantry, the tow missile is of course best used against armored targets, doing massive damage also to tanks, and the Zuni rockets are, in my opinion, the most versatile of the lot. While Zuni rockets are not exactly long-range sniping tools against tanks or other enemy LAVs, unlike the tow missile, which you can use even at long range, you can, for a matter of fact, even take out air vehicles with them. The Zuni rockets at close to medium range do massive damage both to infantry because of their huge splash damage and to armor, and therefore my pick are the Zuni rockets as secondary weapon because they allow me to be flexible once more, allow me to engage both infantry and armor. And in most situations when using the combination of the 25mm HE shell and Zuni rockets, I do not find myself being out damaged by enemy vehicles unless they of course are using tanks. I don't find myself being out damaged by infantry fighting vehicles because while they often use tow missiles, if you block a tow missile with your active protection, your countermeasure, which we will get into in just a moment, they are basically screwed, not able to put out much damage for at least 5 to 10 seconds until their tow missile has reloaded. Speaking of countermeasures though, there are of course once more a number of options of countermeasures. While some people swear on the fire extinguisher to keep themselves mobile, for me frankly active protection is a must on most armored vehicles. In this case it also is very important because it allows me to block enemy tow missiles, which of course can do up to 30 or more damage to your vehicle, and if hit correctly on a tank will actually disable a tank immediately. Therefore active protection for me is a key part of my strategy when playing an infantry fighting vehicle because it allows me to take that hefty damage or that advantage that my enemy would have against me with a more armor orientated loadout away from them and even the playing field once more. Optics are pretty similar to the tank, a matter of taste. While some people will like the thermal or Iron V optics for finding mines or other Claymore or C4 on the roads, I personally just prefer to use a zoom optic because usually I have my gunner running a thermal or Iron V optic and him looking out for the mines and telling me over comms where I need to look out for them. Upgrades once more similar to what we had in the tanks. You couldn't use maintenance thermal or autoloader, but reactive armor is going to help you stay more mobile for a longer period of time. It decreases or increases the amount of damage, I must say, that you can take before being critically disabled, which is important, especially for LAVs who are much more based on their mobility and much quicker than, for example, a main battle tank. Now, when it comes to the gunner, there is important choices to be made here once more. However, they are identical to what I would recommend for a gunner tank loadout. Once more, the gunner optic is going to be a thermal. You can use a zoom, but once more, he doesn't really have the ranged gun to use here. A thermal is likely better for, first of all, spotting hiding enemies, and second of all, it's very useful to, of course, spot those pesky mines or C4 that recons have put down. And the upgrade, I would go for the Incendiary because it just allows you to clear buildings from very simply from your gunner position. You can basically stop people from also peeking a corner by throwing an incendiary grenade. They're highly useful. Why you don't get too many kills with them? They are certainly an asset that a gunner can use very well, unlike a gunner proximity scan, for example, which is in my opinion relatively useless because you can just pay attention to your minimap or just look yourself around and you don't really need most of the other upgrades available. Now, in case you have a different opinion on what you think is the best LAV loadout, infantry fighting vehicle loadout, I'd be interested to know why and which it is. Now, for me, I do understand many people who want a more vehicle-orientated loadout when it comes to primary and secondary weapons, maybe a tow missile, or of course, the APFSD ST shells, which is quite a mouthful. However, in my opinion, because of the way I play with my active protection, allowing me to block the enemy's tow missile, I don't need it and find that I can do a similar amount of damage with a barrage of Zuni rockets if well placed, while maintaining much higher flexibility against infantry. Same goes for my gunner. The gunner, of course, doesn't have much options to go against anti-vehicle, but he is, of course, an important part of fighting infantry, which is, of course, the main function of an infantry fighting vehicle, or LAV. So let me know down below in the comments what you think about this most flexible, most deadly, most versatile LAV loadout. Is this how you run your LAV, or do you have a different combination of upgrades, attachments, countermeasures, weapons, primary and secondary that you use and find to be more effective or more versatile on the battlefield? I'd love to know from you down below in the comments, but otherwise, I would like to thank you very much for watching and hope to see you in the next Battlefield 4 video.